Again, the Prime Minister is misleading the House. Only bold enough to say to your face.
You don't know what I'm going to say. You don't know what I'm going to say.
The Prime Minister is attributing a point of view or a remark to me, which is false.
I rise to use my entire 30 minutes on this motion.
No, you can speak for the 45 minutes or 30 minutes now, but you know you don't have the chance to speak when you come back to close. You do it right now. You have the time then.
I want to know how you going to stop me from speaking when I'm the one tabling the PAAC report.
If you attempt to do it...
No, you can't stop that.
No, I'll ask you to name you. So don't go there.
Well, go on, my Jamaican family, and once again welcome back to the ERD Reacts. If it is for the first time you are checking me out, kindly subscribe, like and share to my YouTube channel. And to my returning subscribers, I do want to say thank you very much for the love and support you are always giving to me. Whereby today, guys, I've got this video as it was a clash between the JLP party and the PNP party into the members of the parliament. And in this case, Andrew Holness, being the Jamaican Prime Minister, just controversially, or rather, he mistakenly answered something wrong towards Mark Golding, or rather contradicted words that Mark Golding had made into this video. And so into the PNP party, we had Mark Golding, Peter Bunting, and Brown Burke. On the JLP party, we had Andrew Holness, the Jamaican Prime Minister, and the speaker was Wilmington. So guys, I want you to watch this entire video to the end, and I'll be back with more.
Effort into a more mainstream response stood up by the ministries, departments, and agencies. Inasmuch as members of parliament have been clamoring to want to deliver package, to want to deliver roofing material, there will come a time, and it has already come, where the members of parliament will be saying, take this away from me, I can't manage it anymore. But this is, Madam Speaker, the challenge. Because in one voice you say you want it, and then in another voice you say you don't want it, you just want it done. And Madam Speaker, we as the government who have the responsibility, we already knew that this moment would come. And therefore, Madam Speaker, that is why we have always emphasized that we must stand up the government, make the government strong, including the members of the opposition, so that we can give the long-enduring service to those Jamaicans who are suffering. That is what we have done. So, Madam Speaker, the idea that somehow the relief effort has been partisan, unfairly distributed, the main proponent being my sister and neighbor from St. Andrew South West.
Again, the Prime Minister is misleading the House by saying, and besmirching, yes, my character, by saying that I am the main proponent. Obviously, he's not on social media. He's not reading what others are saying and writing. I am only bold enough to say it to your face.
Madam Speaker, I am happy that the member who says that she is not the main proponent, who asked the same question last week and asked it this week, and is bold enough to state, I am happy that she has raised the issue. Because, Madam Speaker, as I travel through the country, supporters of the Jamaica Labour Party have come to me complaining that the PNP MPs who have gotten substantial relief aid have not been distributing it to them. And I want to put it on record, Madam Speaker, that when they have come to me, I have said to them, in the interest of unity and peace in this country, that we wouldn't raise it or complain about it. But there is obviously, Madam Speaker, an effort to destroy the goodwill and to falsely accuse the government in a very malicious way. And we have, Madam Speaker, made every attempt to be fair in how we have distributed the public's resources, not our resources, the public resources. And to answer the member, I have given a directive to the Minister of Labour to the Minister of Local Government and to ADPEM that they must release all public aid that has been given to every member of Parliament in this country. So that the unfair and malicious attempt to cast the government in an unfair light can be dispelled by facts. So, Madam Speaker, that will be made available as soon as the next sitting. And we have also said, I must say, Madam Speaker, I received yesterday a very good report from ADPEM that they now have in place a proper system to manage inventory. So very soon, we should be able to have a public access website where we can see everything that comes in and everything that is given. We will put an end to this deliberate, malicious attempt to destroy the reputation of the government. Madam Speaker, and we will see when it happens who has gotten more. Madam Speaker, no, I'm on my feet. So we will disclose everything that has been given to constituencies. Let me put it that way. Well, it can't go to the constituency unless it goes through the FB. So, Madam Speaker, I know what has fallen over here and why everybody is all of a sudden getting hot under the collar. I know. Madam Speaker, let me continue. Grants which ministers who are in the various areas where those grants are given will speak. But 12 billion for this case is for technical advice. 12 billion. And you are correct in the sense that sometimes these grants come with conditionalities as to who would be the consultant, and some countries have, precisely, some countries do have a requirement that by their law that some of their aid has to come through their local companies. I am not here saying that this is definitively the case for this. We have not discussed that. Which brings me to the question asked by the member from Southeast St. Andrew as to whether or not you wanted to have more details as to how the loans will be accessed, when they will be accessed, the conditionalities and interest rates and so forth. So today was, so just to back up so that the country understands clearly. 2 weeks ago, I had a discussion with all the international financial institutions at the G20. That discussion centered around how we can assist Jamaica's recovery. I asked for a particular kind of support. It was considered by the IFIs, and they came together and they made their release on Monday. This morning, I had a call with all the IFIs, including the head of the IMF, the head of the World Bank, the head of the IDB, the head of CAF, and the CDB, Caribbean Development Bank. And we worked out in broad outlines how the program will work. So I don't have for you as yet the details. The Minister of Finance will now go into the direct discussions to work out the details. We can say that the private sector loans, again to the point raised by the leader of the opposition, will form part of our public-private strategy. His concern is that, yes, you may say that $2.1 billion is available in private sector loan, but are there the matching investments ready to take it up? And on investors. And my answer to that is yes. Because the government of Jamaica was already in the process, because of our public investment appraisal process, where we have to develop projects way in advance. In addition to investors who have been coming to the government to say, we want to do this and we will fund it, and we have to be saying, yes, we understand if you want to partner with us, you have to understand that we have to keep within our fiscal limits. And therefore there are projects that are lined up waiting for fiscal space to be executed. So which is why I've been saying that yes, it's a disaster, but that it has also created an opportunity for us to fund projects that have been on the track waiting to get fiscal space to be operated. So this is what I mean when I say we have opportunities. So this is also a signal, Madam Speaker, to the private sector that if there are projects that have a national impact that can be done using Jamaica's well-established public-private partnership structure, now is the time to get in line for those projects. The leader of the opposition is saying, in a sort of a way, that we don't have the money. The point is that once the international community stands up and commits to it, it would be very rare or something dramatic, negatively would have happened for us not to have access to the funding. I'm saying the private sector money, they have committed an envelope. And once they have committed that, it is then up to us to meet the envelope. Speaker, I am a strong advocate for climate justice. But the difference between myself and the leader of the opposition is you don't know what I'm going to say. You don't know what I'm going to say. The difference between myself and the leader of the opposition is that I am not expecting the international community to give Jamaica anything.
The Prime Minister is attributing a point of view or a remark to me, which is false. I've never said that the international community can be expected to give us anything. I know the world we're living in. I was pointing out the injustice of it, and the fact that it's because of the injustice of it that we're going to have to be taking on this massive amount of additional debt to try and dig ourselves out of this hole. That's the point I was making.
Madam Speaker, I accept the point of clarification, but there was no point about it. But the clarification attempted by the leader of the opposition. Madam Speaker, my recollection of the leader of the opposition statement is that they are only giving us $12 million in grants. With all that we need, all that they're going to give us, let me say this, Madam Speaker. Yes, there is an injustice in the climate change issues that small island developing states in particular are faced with increasing in terms of frequency, in terms of intensity, and in terms of the overlapping of disasters that have an impact on our balance sheet as a country. And the argument is that rich countries that have benefited from using carbon-based fuels, should compensate. But, being your Prime Minister, the position I take is that until then, Jamaica must be able to stand on its own 2 feet, develop itself, and how do we as a small nation, Madam Speaker, stand on our own 2 feet? The leader of the opposition's argument is that we are going to have to borrow to do this recovery. Now, I want to know, hold on, that's what he said. No. The leader of the opposition made the point that we are going to have to borrow to do the recovery. And you have made the exact point. Yes. So what else would we have to do? What else would we have to do? Which shows you the inconsistency of his arguments. But here's the problem now, Madam Speaker. How do we borrow? If it were 20 years ago, 30 years ago, we would not be able to approach the IFI. We wouldn't even be able to approach the international community. But Madam Speaker, even if we were able to approach the international community, it would not be on concessionary terms. It would not be in a structured way as this.
Welcome back, family. I hope you've watched this entire video to the end and you have heard whatever was taking place on to the members of the parliament in Jamaica. And here, as you have heard, the Jamaican Prime Minister Andrew Holness just contradicted to the words that were made were brought by Mark Golding, and in it, Mark Golding just said that Jamaica needs to borrow so as they can retrieve themselves from the Hurricane Melissa. And in this case, Andrew Holness was angry about it. To whereby we know it's not the first time Jamaica is borrowing from other different countries. So definitely, after the Hurricane Melissa happened, a lot of things were distracted, a lot of things were destroyed by the Hurricane Melissa, and it seems the government of Jamaica is running out bankruptcy, so they definitely need help from different sources. And in this case, Jamaica has got the Chinese they can borrow onto. They are in good terms with the United States, so definitely they can be helped. And this is something that this is what Mark Golding was trying to imply. But the Jamaican Prime Minister Andrew Holness took it differently, or rather negatively, or maybe we can say he did not want it to sound like he wants to do so. Yeah, he was just trying to cover it for himself or whatever. As we know, for the Hurricane Melissa, some funds were sent to Jamaican government, and it's being handled by Andrew Holness. And so, maybe he was trying to cover it up for himself. Yeah, mainly because it is said till date the Hurricane Melissa funds has never been even touched. It has never worked for the work it was supposed to do in Jamaica. And so I think by the point made from Mark Golding, it was making sense, mainly because you do need the funds, and there is no any other place or source you are going to get this income until you borrow. It was just but a concern. So in here, I might be in support with Mark Golding, mainly because he was making a sense out of it. And it's just but an opinion to be brought so as we can discuss about it. But the Prime Minister contradicted about it, or rather, he claimed he wanted no more debts. But for the country to be worked onto, you definitely were supposed to do so. Even if you got the funds for Hurricane Melissa from different sources, it wasn't enough. And until this point, it is said the money hasn't even been touched yet. We saw what the Prime Minister did after the Hurricane Melissa. Like, some of the things he was doing were irrelevant. He would go to churches and rebuild churches, and even give out a lot of money to churches. And afterwards, even the leaders of the churches came around and they refused. But in Jamaica, some people are still homeless. Some of them, their lands are being grabbed and are being taken away from them. Some of them are just crying now and then, complaining about the Prime Minister. And this is the cause of the Hurricane Melissa, but there are funds that were contributed within other sources and other countries sent to Jamaica for the relief from Hurricane Melissa. And the funds haven't even yet been touched. It's there. What is actually the plan of Andrew Holness with these Hurricane Melissa funds? If the country has got funds, then definitely there wouldn't be complaint about other certain part of Jamaica, going in blackouts. They have no electricity, their roads are spoiled or whatever. There wouldn't have been these complaints that we are receiving online here and there now and then. There wouldn't be complaints whereby people are crying they are homeless. Things would have been running out smooth. And that's the main point why Mark Golding came with the point of borrowing money from different sources, so as they can help the people of Jamaica from the relief, or rather from the Hurricane Melissa tragedy that happened the year 2025. As that Hurricane Melissa happened, it destroyed and distracted a lot in Jamaica. So Jamaica had to go back onto the drawing board so as the country can come back being stable. But in it, things that are happening are very much relevant. You know, hearing about the Cuban doctors being sent away from Jamaica, you know, hearing about like the United States setting out their army base in Jamaica. Like things are going around in Jamaica that they are very much irrelevant, which the government is supposed to be focused on how they're going to retrieve and, you know, make the people feel at home again after the Hurricane Melissa. Yeah, that's something that they are supposed to have kept it onto the front page and front line. You know, you need to make Jamaicans feel safe in their own country. So guys, I need to know whatever you think about this amazing video. Let's come around, share your thoughts throughout the comment section so we can get to interact and know what you think, and mainly because your opinion does matters to us. And the question is, do you think Mark Golding had a point about the borrowing of money so as they can help Jamaicans towards the Hurricane Melissa? Do you think he had a point, you know? And do you think was the Prime Minister too right for not accepting that, you know, point from Mark Golding? And you, as you have heard from Brown Burke too and Peter Bunting, which side do you think they were okay, or rather they had the great points that the government would have followed, and right now Jamaicans would have been on the safer side? Yeah, let's share our thoughts, guys, so we can get to interact and know what you think. Thank you very much, guys, for following up the video with me. I was your host, Yadi Reacts. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, kindly subscribe, like, and share to my YouTube channel. And to my returning subscribers, I do want to say thank you very much for the love and support you are always giving unto me. Always remember to link me up through my next videos. All I do want to say is peace out there.